Welcome YouTube. This video, if you've got a situation where you have a vehicle that when you turn it off, it sounds like it's boiling over, or maybe while you're driving it, it's overheating, or maybe you've noticed when it's running there are drips coming out of the exhaust pipe, or maybe like this vehicle, you can see that there's corrosion on the battery terminal. This vehicle also has all of those other symptoms I had mentioned. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about the problem of blown head gasket and cracked heads, what happens, what's going on with boil over, and what it means for you and your vehicle and what you could expect with repairing it. So this is a Dodge late 1999 2000 model. This is a 2000 model, but it's very similar to the 1999 also. So this one has a 5.7 liter engine in there, and it has drips, it has steam, it has overheating on the roadway, and so that's why we're going to repair it today. And so what's happening with that overheating is that basically there is a pathway between the engine piston chamber where the fuel explodes. There's a pathway from there into the coolant system. And so that could be from a deteriorated head gasket, but also in these model Dodge vehicles with the V8 Magnum heads, the machine shop told me that they are very prone to cracking in these vehicles. And this vehicle has over 300,000 miles on it, and a lot of hours idling and other conditions. So it's very likely that one or two of these heads are likely cracked. And so we're going to go through the process today of dismantling the engine, having a look at those head gaskets, and also we'll likely magnaflux those heads at the machine shop to verify. If we can't find any cracks visually, just without taking them in there, then we will have them, proofed. And we'll also likely do the valves cleanup while we have it off, and some other things as well. So anyway, just here to have a little commentary about the blown head gasket or cracked head situation and let you know how it goes. First thing we're going to do is decharge the fuel system. So we have to disconnect the fuel line from the engine, and those fuel lines are pressurized, and the manual says you only want to do this operation when the engine is cold. So that's what we've got, and basically how it works is that here's the power control center, and this is the cover which shows all the different items in here, and the fuel system is right here where my thumb is. Shows you the fuel system relay, which referring the cover to the fuel panel or fuse panel, you can see right here is this relay. So basically the truck just started, but now I'm going to remove this fuel relay, and I'm going to attempt to start the vehicle again, and I'll just turn it over a few times. And having done this before, I know it won't even try to start once I remove that. In some cases, they say in the manual to remove that and then run the engine until it dies. And in my experience, it won't even run as soon as I pull that out. So we'll do that. And then there's also a process where we do the final low pressure discharge from the fuel line, which is going to involve providing power to the fuel injectors. So here's the fuel injectors here, and we're going to directly power that using jumpers from the battery to the fuel injector. And so we'll activate that injector once we have depressurized the system, and that will let any last pressure out of the fuel system before we use a very special tool, which I'll show you over here. So here's a special connector for the fuel system, and we have very special little plastic doodads that you must have in order to remove this fuel system. If you don't have those special fuel doodads, do not even try to disconnect this fuel line. So we're going to do that process here in the next video, but I just wanted to give you the full insight that, if someone's telling you you've got a blown head gasket and your vehicle is overheating, that overheating is not really from the water temperature getting hot. That overheating is the hot gases that are being pushed into your coolant system, and those gases are hotter than the water, and that's what's also pushing the water out of your coolant system. And then so once the water is pushed out, then it is prone to the actual overheating, and steaming, and all of that happens when your coolant system gets too low. But don't make the mistake of thinking like, oh, it overheated just because the water system's low. Yes, you will need to add water, but if you do that and then some miles down the road, maybe even a month down the road, 2 months down the road, or under certain driving conditions. I know some friends had a Subaru, and every time they would climb up the hill, then the vehicle would overheat. And that just lets you know that it's on the verge of it has a minor failure, but at some point down the road, not too long, you're likely to have a major failure. So if you have this issue, don't push it. I have a Dodge Durango that had this issue of the blown head gasket, and I made all the videos, which I might include in this sequence. But basically, as soon as I bought the vehicle, I drove it on the roadway for 3 miles, and it overheated, and that high pressure gases actually exploded the radiator. Like, it broke the plastic of the radiator, it shattered, and I had to tow the vehicle after having just bought it because I was driving it with a blown head gasket, which is actually not one but 2 cracked heads. So anyway, a lot of commentary just to reinforce, the importance of not driving your vehicle. If you have this overheating condition, you have water coming out of your tailpipe, things like that, you have this battery corrosion, then you should stop as soon as you can. And if you can't do this work yourself, you should have a mechanic do this repair, because otherwise you're likely to be stranded on the road in some time that is not very convenient for you. This is a risky thing to keep driving on, and while you can think, oh, it may be just the head gasket, and you can just put another head gasket on there, you don't want to do the work twice of taking the head gasket, repairing it, and having the problem still not be fixed. You definitely want to have those heads checked. If you cannot affirm for yourself that they're 100% good, then do take them to the machine shop to have them magnafluxed, and it will cost you some money, but it will not cost you as much as not doing it and still having the problem once you put it all together. So that's my commentary, just general stuff about the blown head gasket, cracked heads issue, and I'm going to continue on this sequence to highlight different elements of this process. Good luck.